I'm Lois Silverman. I'm the Women's League co-communications chair. And I've been doing this for a little bit of time for Women's League, as well as part of my so-called professional life. I've been doing it as a volunteer for an awful long time. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times, the 1940s. And you can see from this timeline that some of the major events of the 1940s. We're going to be speaking today about pre-World War II Hollywood musicals. And just this is what happened on today's date in 1940. The prices, take a look at these prices. I would love to be able to buy eggs for 59 cents a dozen, or gas at 18 cents. And the hit songs of the day, the Woodpecker song, In the Mood, both of which were done by Glenn Miller, Bing Crosby, Only Forever, and Sierra Sue. And you can read the rest yourself. And the best-selling books, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter and Native Son. Now, in the 1940s and before, and probably up until the early 1950s, Jewish moguls, businessmen, controlled the film industry. Now, film critic Neil Gabler argued in his book, An Empire of Their Own, that these Hollywood Jews invented the America of our dreams, a place of high excitement, courage, laughs, compassion, family feeling, and true love. But before World War II, movie critics have been divided on how to view the Jewish film moguls and their response to Hitler. Now, here are some facts. The Jewish studio heads often were assimilated when they became powerful and wealthy. They were out to make money, and money always came before politics. They knew that films with Jewish characters, with Jewish actors, with Jewish names, or who looked Jewish, or movies with Jewish plot elements would not make money either in the United States or the lucrative foreign markets. So studios produced nationless, religiousless, and raceless movies. During pre-World War II, few Hollywood movies released to theaters around the world would have had trouble passing the Nazi or fascist censorship. Now, the Jewish movie moguls' problem with their consciences, if they had any problems, were solved when fascist Italy banned all American films in 1939, and Nazi Germany banned Hollywood films in 1940. After these bans and Pearl Harbor, the movie moguls hopped on the patriotic bandwagon. Nevertheless, Jews were not portrayed on screen as Jews, but Jews continue to play a large part behind the camera, especially in musical films. And Jewish film writers from the 1930s were still active in the early 1940s, modernizing the American musical film. In the late 1930s and early 40s, Jewish composers led the way as movie musicals trended towards greater unification of plot and music, such as in the Rodgers and Hammerstein 1943 musical on Broadway, Oklahoma. And by the way, that exclamation point is not a mistake. That's the way they had it on the marquee on Broadway. Now, the films that these Jewish composers did were included The Wizard of Oz by Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg, Babes on Broadway in 1941, Rodgers and Hart, Meet Me in St. Louis, music by Georgie Stoll and others, Cover Girl by Jerome Kern and Ira Gershwin in 1944. But movie musicals adapted from Broadway musicals bore little resemblance to the original plays. The only resemblance ended up being the name. The plot was altered, and often very few of the songs from the original play were used. Now let's go take a look at some of these Jewish composers who composed for movies. Let's start with Sigmund Romberg. Now he was born, and this is German, so please forgive me, Sigmund Rosenberg. He was born in Hungary and studied engineering and musical composition in Vienna. He came to New York City in June of 1909, and after briefly working in a New York City pencil factory, he began to work as a pianist in cafes and restaurants. He then was employed by the Schubert brothers of Broadway theatrical fame as a staff composer, writing music for about 40 of their musical and revues, including several for Al Jolson. Now, his first hit operetta was Maytime, and it was produced in 1917. Then came Blossom Time in 1921, and that was based on the life of Franz Schubert and featured songs derived from Franz Schubert's works. In the 1920s, Romberg produced a series of sentimental, elegant, non-political Vienna-styled operettas, popular for their romantic plot and richly melodic songs. Among them were The Student Prince, and of course the songs were a drinking song, and The Desert Song, 1926, with the song One Alone, The New Moon, Lover Come Back to Me, which was an adaptation of Tchaikovsky's June Barcarolle. His other works from this time employed the era's style of American musicals, and he also composed musical scores. Now, these were his film musicals, New Moon in 1940, and it had lyrics by Oscar Hammerstein II. The Desert Song, and interestingly, the U.S. Office of War Information in 1943 held up release of the film for a year because of the shifting political positions of Vichy France. Now, Up in Central Park was 1948, and it had lyrics by another Jewish songwriter named Dorothy Fields. But the movie omitted much of the Broadway score and changed the story considerably, and it was not a successful movie. Sigmund Romberg was the subject of a 1954 musical called, it was a biofilm called Deep in My Heart. And Jose Ferrer portrayed Romberg. And this film was the final film in a series of MGM biopics based on the lives of composers, which included Till the Clouds Roll By about Jerome Kern, Words and Music about Rodgers and Hart, and Three Little Words about Comer and Ruby in 1950. New Moon, we're going to talk a little bit in depth about New Moon. It premiered on Broadway in 1928. And of course, we mentioned that Oscar Hammerstein and some other lyricists wrote the book and the lyrics for this basically operetta. Now, there was a film made in 1930, but that film was less successful and less of a true adaptation of the stage play than this adaptation in 40. Now, starring in this musical was Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy, and they were a popular screen couple specializing in musicals during the 1930s and 40s. Nelson Eddy, had been an opera star before he became a film star, and he was nicknamed the Singing Capon. And Jeanette MacDonald turned to opera later in her career, and she was called the Iron Butterfly. Now, they starred in these 8 listed musicals for MGM. And while the public sensed that there was an on-screen chemistry between them, that wasn't just acting, it was also a fact that the public also knew they were married to other people. And they were told in magazines that they hated each other off screen. Surprisingly, in a book called Sweethearts by Sharon Rich, it was revealed that they were really lovers off screen. Now let's take a look at New Moon, or at least a little part of it.
The sky was blue and high above, the moon was new and so was love. This eager heart of mine was singing, lover, where can you be?
Softly, as in a morning sunrise, the light of love comes stealing into a newborn day. Oh, flaming with all the glow of sunrise, a burning kiss is sealing the vow that all betray.
Men, the ship we were waiting for is anchored in the river, but it's in the hands of the police. Our plan's been discovered. In a few hours, the troops will take over the stockades. If we're ever to have our freedom, we've got to fight for it tonight.
You're crazy! What chance have we?
Where can we go? There are a few men left on the New Moon. It's our ship. We're strong enough, if brave enough, to take it back. Who's with me?
Not me.
I don't like it. Friends, what have we to lose but a life of starvation and servitude?
But pirating a ship means hanging if we're caught.
If we're not killed first.
That's right.
It's our own ship we're taking back.
The Marines will shoot us down like animals.
Would you rather live like animals?
Without guns, we haven't a chance.
We have a chance. Tom Boy, you were a gunner on the Spanish Main.
And that I was, sir.
Jacques, you were a sail rigger.
Aye.
There's enough seamen amongst us to sail a ship to the end of the earth. Friends, will you come with me and show the King's Marines how the King's rebels can fight? All right, if I have to, I'll go alone.
Wait, Charles, I'll go with you.
One man at last.
And me too, sir.
2.
I'm with you, Charles.
Now there's 4 of us.
Me too.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we're 10. That makes an army. Come on. Right to the Gonzales stockade. Tell the men we're marching to the bayou.
Aye.
Jack to the Verduret stockade.
Aye.
12 to the Viron.
Aye, sir.
Who's going to stop us now?
Give me some men who are stout-hearted men who will fight for the right they adore. Start me with 10 who are stout-hearted men, and I'll soon give you 10,000 more. Shoulder to shoulder, and bolder they grow as they go to the fore. Then there's nothing in the world can halt or mar our plan. When stout-hearted men can stick together, man to man. You who have dreams you act, they will come true. Oh, turn your dreams to a fact, it's up to you. If you have the soul and the spirit, never fear it, you'll see it through. Hearts can inspire other hearts with their fire. Let the flame burn high, for tonight we do or we die. Give me men, give me men, go to the war. Then there's nothing in this world can fall for man. When starving men can stick together, man to man. But within the night, we follow the sun, the liberty right, the sun will fight, the sound of light, day and all, day and all, we're ready to go, to fight the fight, carry the stuff, fly your soul, fly your soul, escape the death, we're ready to go, we're ready to go, we're ready to give it 10,000 more. Who's ready to go? Ready to fight, ready to fight and willing to die. Ready to fight, 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 shoulder to shoulder, and bolder, we grow as we go through the floor. Then there's nothing in this world can fall on our plan. When starving men can stick together, man to
One king, one man to save his all, one love for me alone, one word, one vow, and nothing more. To have him mine, his own.
wanting you. Nothing else in this world will do. In this world you are all that I adore.
Now we're going to turn to Jerome Kern. Now, he wrote over 700 songs during his career, and they were used in over 100 stage plays and movies. His music is noted for its natural flow of rhythm and for the often folk song-like quality of its melodies, which possesses an indefinable but unmistakably American character. Now, he collaborated with the best libretticists and lyricists of his era, and they included Oscar Hammerstein, Otto Harbach, Johnny Mercer, Ira Gershwin, Yip Hartberg, and of course, Dorothy Fields. And his films included Lady Be Good in 1931. It was remade in 1941. And You Were Never Lovelier, Cover Girl, Can't Help Singing, Centennial Summer, Until the Clouds Rolled By, which of course was mentioned before, which was a film biography of his own life. We're going to take a look at Lady Be Good. Now, it starred Eleanor Powell, the dancer, Ann Sothern, Robert Young, Lionel Barrymore, and Red Skelton. And it was produced by Arthur Freed. Its title and theme song, Oh Lady Be Good, was from the 1924 Gershwin Brothers Broadway musical Lady Be Good, but otherwise it has no connection to the play. Now, the songs included You Never Know, Your Words and My Music, Lady Be Good, The Last Time I Saw Paris, and Fascinating Rhythm. And you notice that there are different writers to the various songs. But the outstanding song of the musical was a song called The Last Time I Saw Paris, written by Jerome Kern. He did the music and Oscar Hammerstein did the lyrics. Now, this song was not written either for the play or this film, but it was rather in response to the Nazi occupation of Paris. And was the only song Hammerstein ever wrote that was not written to order. In other words, a piece written for a play or a musical. And it was the first Kern-Hammerstein piece whose words were written before the music. Now, Kern was very upset when he won the Academy Award for Best Original Song. Why? Because it was not written for the film. In fact, it was published and recorded before the film was released. So what he did was he petitioned the Motion Picture Academy to change the rules. So since then, a nominated song had to be written specifically for the film in which it was performed. So let's take a look at the movie.
Oh, sweet and lovely lady, be good.
Oh, baby, be good to me.
I am so awfully misunderstood.
Oh, baby, be good to me.
Have some pity. I'm all alone in this big city.
Known as Paris, romantic and charming, has left her old companions and faded from view. Lonely men with lonely eyes are seeking her in vain. Her streets are where they were, but there's no sign of her. She has left the same. The last time I saw Paris, her heart was warm and gay. I heard the laughter of her heart in every street cafe. The last time I saw Paris, the trees were dressed for spring, and lovers walked beneath those trees, and birds found songs to sing. I dodged the same old taxi cabs that I had dodged for years. The chorus of their squeaky horns was music to my ears. The last time I saw Paris, her heart was warm and gay. No matter how they changed, I remember I'll happy hours and people who shared them. Old women selling flowers in markets at dawn. Children who applauded Punch and Judy in the park. And those who danced at night and kept our Paris bright till the town went dark. The last time I saw Paris, her heart was warm and gay. I heard the laughter of her heart in every street cafe. The last time I saw Paris, her trees were dressed for spring, and lovers walked beneath those trees, and birds found songs to sing. I dodged the same old taxi cabs that I had dodged for years. The chorus of their squeaky horns was music to my ears. The last time I saw Paris, her heart was warm and gay. No matter how they change her, I'll remember her.
Now we're going to talk about Ira and George Gershwin. George Gershwin became famous for blending jazz with classical forms, as in American in Paris and Rhapsody in Blue, with the clarinet opening phrase, which many consider like klezmer, or some would say echoing the shofar during high holiday services. George Gershwin also used sounds and motifs from American folk and Black spirituals, such as in his Porgy and Bess, which was written in 1935 with lyrics by his brother Ira. Now, the films that were made of George Gershwin's and Ira Gershwin's works were done after his death. He died in 1937 at the age of 38. And some of the films that we see from him and his brother, such as Strike Up the Band, Lady in the Dark, Girl Crazy, The Barkleys of Broadway, and the Rhapsody in Blue, which was a fictionized bio of him, bear little resemblance to either the play or the subject matter. Strike Up the Band, done in 1940, bears no resemblance to the 1927 Broadway show, aside from the title song played during the opening credits, sung by Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney and a chorus in the finale also. Lady in the Dark, which was based on a 1941 musical, the music was written, used some of his music, but some of the other music was done by Kurt Weill. And again, most of the songs were cut. Girl Crazy fared a little bit better. It kept the Gershwins' Embraceable You, Fascinating Rhythm, But Not For Me, and I Got Rhythm. And finally, the Barkleys of Broadway, and which was a vehicle for Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. Now, Strike Up Your Band was a 1940 MGM musical, and it was directed by Busby Berkeley. Yes, Busby Berkeley from the 1930s fame, such as he did 42nd Street and Dames and some of the others. And it starred, as was mentioned, Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland. And this is the second in a series of musicals they co-starred in. And this came after Babes in Arms, which was directed also by Busby Berkeley. And the story was written in 1927, and it bears, as was mentioned, no resemblance. And except for this title song, no other Gershwin songs were used. So let's take a look at it right now. Ira Gershwin, his fame and his reputation was overshadowed by his brother. Ira Gershwin had a mastery of songwriting, and it continued long after George's death. He wrote additional hit songs with composers like Jerome Kern, Kurt Weill, Harry Warner, and Harold Arlen. These are some of the songs that he wrote the lyrics for. Now let's talk a little bit about Rodgers and Hart. Now their style combined Lorenz Hart's witty lyrics. They had brilliant interior rhymes and wry twists of meaning. And that was combined with Rodgers' expressive approach to harmony and his highly individual rhythmic choices. Many of the team's musicals never were filmed, never went to the big screen at all, although scenes from these musicals were staged for the 1940 biographical movie Words and Music, which was loosely based on Rodgers and Hart's partnership. The films that were made were Too Many Girls in 1940, and interestingly, that starred Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Higher and Higher used only one song by the team, and that was called Disgustingly Rich. And finally, The Boys from Syracuse in 1940. Now, the Boys from Syracuse did not come from Central New York, but from the other Syracuse. It was based on the 1938 stage musical by Rodgers and Hart, which was in turn loosely based upon Shakespeare's The Comedy of Errors. And it starred Alan Jones, Martha Raye, Joe Penner, Rosemary Lane, Charles Butterworth and Alan Mowbray. Now, these were big stars at the time. We might not remember too many of them, but they were big stars at the time. And it was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, not the big Academy Awards, but awards for Best Visual Effects and for Best Art Direction. Now, the movie itself received a lot of mixed reviews. And the songs that were included in the film were Falling in Love with Love, This Can't Be Love, and Sing for Your Supper. If you go on to YouTube and do a search, you can find the complete play, or excuse me, the complete movie, the 1940 movie, The Boys from Syracuse. So let's take a look at the final scenes from this movie.
Two minutes of tune right now.
La 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 la. Hear this word of mine. Love, who are you? Make a room, a place where flowers bloom, and tell me who am I? That when I think of your face, I dance in the so happy and graceful. If that's what you can do, I wonder who are you?
Sing for your supper and you'll get breakfast. Songbirds always eat if their song is sweet to hear. Sing for your supper and you'll get breakfast. Songbirds are not dumb. They don't buy a crumb of bread. It's said, so sing and you'll be fed. Falling in love with love, falling for great belief.
Falling in love is playing the fool. I fell in love with love everlasting. But
It can't be love because I feel so well. No sorrow, no sorrow, no sorrow. This can't be love. I get no dizzy spell. My head is not in love. My heart does not stand still. Just hear it beat. This is too sweet to be love. This can't be love because I feel so well, but still I
These are some coming attractions for the next session. And it comes from Irving Berlin, and it's how Hollywood musicals go to war. And of course, they go to war led by Jewish directors and composers. And this video comes from the movie This Is the Army, 1943. And it was music by Irving Berlin, directed by Michael Kurtz, and it was performed by Irving Berlin.
Come on, it's time to get up. Come on, sleeping beauty, wake up.
You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up this morning.
I've been a soldier quite a while, and I would like to state the life is simply wonderful. The army food is great. I sleep with 97 others in a wooden hut. I love them all. They all love me. It's very lovely, but oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I'd love to remain in bed. For the hardest blow of all is to hear the bugler call. You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up this morning. Someday I'm going to murder the bugler. Someday they're going to find him dead. I'll amputate his reveille and step upon it heavily and spend the rest of my life in bed.
Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I love to remain in bed. For the hardest blow of all is to hear the bugler call. You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up this morning. Someday I'm going to murder the bugler. Someday you're going to find him dead.
And then I'll get that other pup, the guy who wakes the bugler up,
and spend the rest of my life in bed.
And so that's the end of this program, but it's time for questions and answers. So, anybody have questions, comments, questions? Anybody?
Lois, I don't see any hands. If you want to write something in the chat or you want to raise your hand.
I see Renee is raising her hand.
Renee, okay.
It's good to see on the background. So I just have a comment in the first clip where Nelson Eddy said, we have 10 people, that's an army. The first thing that came to my mind is we have a minion.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Again, you could see throughout these clips that occurred after the Nazis and the fascists in Italy banned American musicals, American films, that they became patriotic. I mean, you know, New Moon was, I mean, just give me 10 men and I'll have a revolution. And that's why it was held up for a long time before it was released. So, anything else? Any other comment? Oh, please, I couldn't have done that well and given you every single idea. I mean,
Lois, you recorded it. I had an important phone call in the middle and I missed some of it. How can I watch the recording?
I would assume that it was recorded and it probably will be edited and then posted.
And you assume correctly, and it's not probable. That's correct. It'll be edited and it'll be put on the website under members.
And I hope that I would be able to edit it so I can put in the clips so it really sounds like something, okay?
So Karen's on with us and she heard you say it, Lois.
Fantastic. And then I can get it out and because I do have the original clips.
Great.
So anything else? I'll look at their
I found this to be a real treat. I mean, I was singing along. I mean, you couldn't hear me, so it was muted, but you heard me sing at Women's League. So
the next one will also be fun because you're going to have Irving Berlin and you're going to have, and we're going to deal Yankee Doodle Dandy. Don't say that. Say Yankee. It's like Howdy Doody Dandy. We'll be dealing with that, so you'll be able to sing along with those too, and it should be fun. I mean, this is, you know, we look back, and we need, as was said at the very beginning, we need this as a way of removing ourselves from often sad realities of what's going on in today's world.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes.
It
Jody?
was so nice.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Jody.
Hi, I just wanted to share, it's a more of a little tidbit about the movies. There's a gentleman named Abraham Blank, and he was one of the founding members of like owning movie theatrical cinemas across the country. And he is from Des Moines, was a major philanthropist in the Des Moines area, and his granddaughter-in-law is still an active member of our sisterhood. And he was one of the initial moguls of the movie theater business.
You know, you never know what resources you have in your community. I belong to a synagogue in Dresher, Pennsylvania, and a group there had a session, a Zoom session with the grandson of Oscar Hammerstein II. Oscar Hammerstein II had a home in Bucks County, nearby, which they're trying to turn into a museum. So he is a fundraiser, and he did this program. Absolutely fascinating. And one of the questions that was asked was, your great grandfather, the man that your grandfather was named after, and your namesake, because this grandson was also an Oscar, was Jewish. The original Oscar Hammerstein.
Yes, was Jewish.
How come? What was your grandfather's opinion, feeling about Judaism? And of course, the answer was he wasn't Jewish. His mother wasn't Jewish. His father wasn't, didn't care about being Jewish. And yet there was something that came through. I mean, through his lyrics. I mean, if you listen to The Last Time I Saw Paris, I don't know about you, but that epitomized to me the loss, the losses at the very beginning of World War II. Before we really were aware of what was going on in Germany itself. I mean, this is, it was sanitized loss, but it was a loss. So
that was Ann Sothern singing, right?
It was Aunt Susie from the Ann Sothern, my private secretary from television.
It was amazing that she had such a nice voice, and here she is a comedian after that.
She was a comedian before.
Oh.
She was a comedian, so was Robert Young. They both starred as comedians. They started as comedians. And this movie, The Last Time I Saw Paris, was supposed to be a vehicle for both of them. And the studio heads decided this was not a vehicle. They should not be the stars. They were untested stars in musicals. So that's why you had all these other people coming in to be real musical stars of that movie. She was wonderful. She was wonderful. I always loved Robert Young. Father Knows Best. So yes, that's another course. So anything else? Who else?
Yeah,
hi, I'm Andrea from Pasadena, California. First time joining. Very interesting and enjoyable. And Lois, I'm wondering, is your background in film?
My background is I am American. I'm sorry. My degrees are in English literature. When my first class in college, the first class, the first day was creative writing. And my second class was film. And I was of the era where they just had started film studies and they had just started creative writing. I took every single creative writing course and every single film course that my University offered. And I taught it in high school, and then I taught it at SUNY, State University of New York. So most of what I learned was self-taught. But thank you for asking, now that everybody knows my life story. Susan.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you. And as I was listening to the music and watching the film clips, it was reminding me of my aunt, of blessed memory, my Aunt Elsie, who performed in community theater, and she loved to sing those songs that I heard her voice, and it was making me feel so happy.
It's called it was called the American Songbook. And I don't know who put in the chat, because I'm only looking a little bit at a time, said that, was it Michael Feinstein? Was it
Michael Feinstein? It was me.
Feinstein, yeah.
Who was the well, he is the custodian of a lot of composers' songbooks and sings them and keeps them in people's mind. There are others, but he, of course, yes. Yes, who's it? Margie, I'm sorry. Carol, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I saw all those movies firsthand. I mean, I'm that old.
You're not that old.
What's his name? Michael Feinstein, by the way, cataloged Gershwin's material. And he got to know Ira because somehow he was friends with Clooney, who was the next door neighbor. So, and also Arthur Schwartz's son, I can't think of his first name, he too was responsible for the American Songbook.
Oh yeah, I mean all these Jewish people. I mean, amazing, isn't it? The American Songbook is a Jewish songbook.
Yeah. And I'm very involved in theater, and I've always had an affinity with Gershwin's music, and it was wonderful because I too was singing along. Thank you. Wonderful.
Margie, you had your hand up a long
Yeah,
time.
but I can't. I don't. Am I unmuted now? I can't tell.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so thank you. This is wonderful. We're actually listening to it in the car. Our question is, are you going to, in future sessions, address the Hollywood blacklist and Jewish?
That's 1950s, basic. Well, late 40s, early 50s. Would I? Let's take it and see what happens with this one. Okay.
Right, well, maybe that's another class altogether.
It would be, and you're so right. I mean, I think about that. My daughter worked for the Paul Newman camp in Israel, and they needed a program, and it was the 50th anniversary of the movie Exodus. And now the reason and it sounds like a big, long, Bubba mice here, but it isn't. The story goes that the blacklist in Hollywood was ended when, what's his name? Douglas.
Michael Douglas?
Kirk Douglas.
Oh, Kirk Douglas.
Insisted that what's his name?
Trumbo
wrote the script for Spartacus and insisted that Otto Preminger use Trumbo as the screenwriter for Exodus, and both had his name as the screenwriter in defiance of the blacklist. And that was in 1961. So yes, it is very interesting. You could do a whole course on the blacklist.
Okay, I'll look forward to that class another time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Please barge in if you do.
Okay,
Oh,
I think we're done, Lois, with questions. I want to thank you so much for everything, your preparation, and it was a lot of laughs. Many of us really enjoyed it. And I think Susan said it about singing along. We're all singing along. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you all again soon. Lois, what's the next date?
February something or other. February
13.
Oh, February 13th. Thank you so much.
And Valentine's Day.
Right. We look forward to seeing all of you then. Thank you for spending time with us this afternoon. I saw Judy Berger a little bit. Happy birthday, Judy. I think it's a day late, but happy birthday to you. And thank you all for being part of Women's League and your sisterhood and everything that you do to make us a wonderful organization. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Lois. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.